capture what is being said, listen to how it's being pronounced. But in order for you to get the child to try, because sometimes they don't have the confidence to read. What I do when they were at a younger age is to try and get this book, which is, okay, this comes to reading technique, because not all child will learn the same way. Some child, you teach them using the whole word approach, and they can do the reading. Some child prefers the phonics approach, you know. But at the initial stages, in order for you to get the child to be involved in reading the book, I use what is known as the rebus system. I don't know whether you all are familiar with what is known as the rebus system. The rebus system of reading is where you have to look for the books now. The rebus system is where they will have a few sentences, and let's say the word is a bus. Instead of the word bus, it will actually have a picture of a bus there. So it helps a child to read. So you read a sentence, but in those sentences where it is a picture only, let the child read. So you start reading the child in that manner. You get the child interested in reading first, because the child has no confidence. So you get the child interested that way. Then once she has gotten the interest, after a while she will be able to pick up the word the. There is no picture for the word the. The word he or she. They will pick up, because why? Children learn pictorially. They don't actually read the word the, the. That's why for me, this is my personal view. When I teach my kids, I don't teach them phonics. Because English is not a phonetic language. Malay is much more phonetic. BA will always be ba. BA will never be B or boo or anything. BA is always ba. But for the English language, it's different. HE is he. THE, you pronounce it the. You know, so the child can get confused. So I prefer the whole word approach, because that is how the children actually learn how to read. They will actually read the word THE, they won't see it as THE. They will just see it pictorially as, okay, that is the. That is paper, that is whatever. That is how they learn how to read. So once you get a child interested in the rebus system and they are able to read, then slowly expand it, get rid of all the pictures. You start reading word for word. Use the reader series, because the reader series is actually designed to teach your child how to read. And like I said, when they go from book 1 to book 2 to book 3 to book 4, the sense of accomplishment is there. And they will continue reading, inshallah.
Thank you, Madam. Mr. Abdulaziz, you want to add on social media?
Okay, Bismillah. There's 4 questions. As an engineer, I guess I'm intrigued by question 1 and 2, because it just sort of begs for a solution. So to me, obviously there can be synergies. If some of us are good in one language and some on the other, maybe among yourselves as a parent support group, you guys can help one another. It is trying to build a community, and community starts with just your next your daughter's friend or what. So this is something we tried to do. Myself, Iskandar, some of us, Dr. Bakri, we tried to sort of get a community of like-minded people helping one another. You cannot be strong in everything. Allah gives you certain strengths and weaknesses. So maybe your language challenges, you can just help one another. Because at the end, it's about picking up a skill. So the one who has the skill should be able to help the one who doesn't have the skill. And in that way, we help one another. The more practical side, I believe, in terms of Malay, my daughter, we are basically English speaking at home. We do speak Malay, but it is Bahasa Malay lah. It's not Fusha, bahasa dia. Jadi, but my daughter decided that she wanted to do well for her O-levels. So she one day decided that the best way to do is just to read Berita Harian. And listening to the Malay news. So she set herself a target. Okay, I'm going to just read Berita Harian, I'm going to listen to Malay news at 8 o'clock. Jadi kalau 8 o'clock, TV cannot be on any other channel. It has to be on her channel, and she will listen how they pronounce, how they... So it's not so much the content, but getting into a routine. And after a while, she did well enough to get her A for Malay. And for family who don't really use it as that much frequent, I think that there was one way of doing it. You set in systems, I would say. You set in routines so that they like it or not. Initially, they may not like it, but after you do it, after a while, it becomes a habit. So habits are very important, and good habits are even more important. Yeah? So if you can set good habits, along the way, you are going to get results, inshallah. No guarantees, of course. The last one is the one that we actually saw in the list, and we are pretty challenged also by it, because we have kids who are going into that age, the teenage years, the early 20s and all that. And it is a challenge as much for us as for you, and I hope that we can all share some ideas. Because we tried to, in the early days when with the computer, what you do is that you get educational software, and then you put them on, and then you say, okay, look, you can use the computer, not to go funny places, but yeah, here's a program that we bought, for you, and it's got bells and whistles and bangs and whiz and all that, and at the same time, it has teaching value. So that's one way that we dealt with in the early years with the computer. Now, I find it even more challenging because you really can't control what they download. Because everybody now has a smartphone and it's all up their noses, and even as parents, at least on TV, we can sit next to each other and say, okay, that's wrong, that's right. But with a small phone in their room somewhere, you can't really see what they're doing. For us, it has to be a level of trust that we have done enough in the early years that they do not go totally wayward. Yeah. So it is still a work in progress for us. So.
Thank you. Maria?
Sister, answer your question here. I used to have a problem with the Bahasa Melayu, Malay language, for the children, the younger school. So I'm not able to help them much because I cannot make sentences. My grammar is not correct. I could help them to do things like learn by heart certain things that you can learn by heart. You can help them to score. So this is my way. As a last resort, I came across a cikgu, a retired teacher, who was a very wonderful teacher. And she helped both my son and my daughter to do very well for their PSLE. And I think yes, because she was a very good teacher and she helped them, to find the grammar and the word and all that. Because my son now he's in Sec 5 Asia, he's not a very language person, and he doesn't even want to read Bahasa Melayu, Malay books. But in the end, for the PSLE, I think of course with the help of the teachers here as well from Irshad, he scored an A for Bahasa Melayu, which I was very surprised. And they were really good here. So maybe the first result, sister, because you are not a native here, you don't speak Bahasa Malay language, you might want to get help. Someone who can help. You don't have friends and all that, you must turn to some professional and get a very good tutor. You have to solve. I can't tell you because this cikgu doesn't want to teach anymore. Otherwise, I will let you ask her to help you.
Thank you, madam. Possible to decide. Do you have anything else to add?
I think I'll pick up the question on the Malay language because we have a similar experience. We don't speak Malay. We are not from this place. We are from overseas. And so at home we don't speak Malay, but both my children, both my sons, they took Malay as their second language. And in the secondary school they were doing higher Malay, and they did all the way up to 11, and they did very well. So it is actually challenging. Second language is challenging not only for us, like whose mother tongue is not that, but I think even for people whose mother tongue is Malay, they also have problem with second language. This is the education system's problem, I think. So we can't address that here. But we have to deal with our children's problem. And if you consider that it's basically a hard work, we have to work hard to make our children succeed in that second language. What we did, we engaged Chiku. So a teacher was there who used to come and teach them regularly. And but I could not teach them Malay But I used to take part with that because as if I was also learning Malay, right? When they were in primary 1, primary 2, I used to join them in learning, not as teacher, but in learning. So you have to be involved with the children so that they find it interesting. You have to make it somehow interesting. So when they were learning the numbers, I don't think I can tell it now, Satu and all these things. I used to do that with them. Satu, Dua, Tiga, and I used to do that with them because that's how they feel. Well, it's probably worth learning. And of course, the other point is don't ignore the other subjects. If the student is good in math, science, and English, then if he's not doing Malay, he will have an inspiration to good in Malay. Because I'm doing good in English, I'm doing good in maths. Only the Malay is now stopping me from becoming a very good student. So he himself will find this force in him that he will try to make it out. But of course, as a parent, you have to provide that support. As our colleagues had already told about this, that taking help from other parents who knows, share with them, get help from a professional teacher like Chigu, keep a Chigu there, and things like that. So I think it is possible. But it is hard work. It's not easy. I won't say it is easy, but it is possible to overcome this problem.
Thank you, Professor. Madam Marati, you may need to also speak in Malay because for the lady who asked the question in Malay, so try and respond to her if you want to. No, I mean, never mind, I'll speak English and I'll try and explain.
I'm so sorry. That's it. Normally my children, alhamdulillah, if I see if I can teach them at home, I will not send them for tuition, but I believe that I think when I'm at home, my time is with them. So for sometimes you call that I very concerned with money matters in the sense that because there's only because tuitions are quite expensive things, right? So what I can do at home, I will help. For example, like I have things that I subscribe, right? Like Berita Harian. So I make sure that my children read the Berita Harian every day. If not the headlines or some of the short articles that they have to read, it will help. Because I remember that there's one day my fourth child is a reluctant reader. He did not like to read Malay or English books. One day he come to me and said, Umi, what is lazat? Huh? So I was quite surprised. A simple word like lazat, he doesn't understand. Delicious, right? So then at that point in time, so I make sure that every time they read them, I think Berita Harian is just good enough. So the teachers in the school, mainstream school also recommended that these students read Berita Harian. It's good for their O level and also PSL results. So far my children have been reading the Berita Harian. So I make sure that they read and it improves their Malay. So if we have a time, we just, I think, sit down with them, ask them to read the headlines or the simple articles. Of course, not long articles, it will bore them to death, right? So it's just that simple articles, short articles, we will do every day. So it will help their language. Because let's say for the younger child, right? What I did to, let's say for a 7-year-old, when my child was younger, how do I teach them to read Peter and Jane series? Although the book is very simple, there's only one word, Peter. What do? I look at this Peter. Who is Peter? So I improvise. So I expand on it. So they know that it's just not Peter, Jane, all they read, because it's repetitive. So we want them to memorize the word as well as recognize the words. So I'm not just doing Peter, look, this is Peter, then this is Jane. But I am expanding on who is Peter. Look at his hair, look at his eyes. Okay, is he a boy or a girl? Where is he? So we expand so that the books will become interesting to the child. The book might be very boring when you just pick the book up like that only. So instead it's just Peter, and Jane. Jane and Peter. It's repetitive. But when you add more life to it, I think it becomes interesting to the child, and the child will continue to read. Inshallah. Because so far I have done it 5 times over, so inshallah it work for you.
Thank you, Madam Ariati. Just untuk ibu yang bertanya tadi, bagaimana kita boleh bantu anak kita untuk menguasai bahasa Inggeris, ya? Ada cadangan di sini supaya waris tetap berapat bersama untuk saling bantu-membantu. Dan juga kalau perlu mencari bantuan di luar melalui tutor ataupun guru-guru yang memahami bahasa Inggeris dapat membantu. Yeah.
version bahasa Inggeris atau Mendaki. Dan kebanyakan masalahnya ialah macam confuse antara Melayu dengan bahasa Inggeris. Seperti perkataan kaki, nanti dia akan menggunakan I dalam bahasa Inggeris, sedangkan I dalam bahasa Melayu dia akan menggunakan I. Seperti putri, nanti dia akan menggunakan I itu dalam bahasa Inggeris, I bahasa Inggeris, bukan I dalam bahasa Melayu ialah menggunakan perkataan I, menggunakan word dalam I, gitu kan. Putri, kaki, seperti itu. Dia akan banyak apa bercampur. Jadi confuse, jadi Inggeris dia macam bingung dalam bahasa Melayu, dan Melayu dia akan bingung untuk memberi apa spell untuk dalam bahasa Inggeris. Jadi bercampur aduk.
Yeah.
Jadi saya bingung untuk apa membezakan dia, untuk memahamkan dia bagaimana caranya dia untuk memahami ini ada apa dalam bahasa Inggeris. Kalau macam seperti yang Puan katakan, macam setakat tidak sesimpel macam DA macam DA tak. Kadang dia bingung antara macam perkataan ada satu perkataan itu dalam bahasa Melayu tidak sama idanya dalam bahasa Inggeris kan. Maksud saya seperti itu. Jadi saya kesusahan di situ saja. Tapi hasil dia punya test semua alhamdulillah bagus. Dia cuma masih dalam T1, masih T1. Sedangkan saya masalahnya dalam bahasa Inggeris. Yang membantu 24 jam ialah saya sebagai suri rumah.
Puan Mariati akan cuba jawab dalam bahasa Melayu juga, di bahasa Inggeris.
Saya faham bahasa Inggeris. Saya pun
Okay, good.
cuma saya untuk bercakap tidak ada confidence.
Alhamdulillah. Okay, insyaAllah. Please.
I see that you have small children, so I remembered my time when I had small children. So remembered when I have I'm having my 5th child with here, and I'm teaching my children all along. Masak, and then waiting for them to go to the school and teaching their food. And with my child here, baby still suckling milk. Then after that, there are 4 children, so I can just empathize with her. So I think, saya rasa it can be done, boleh lah, because memang they will get confused. So, but then at the same time, you continue your work, I think insyaAllah, because my reluctant child, even bila saya rasa yang nombor 3 yang tak nak belajar juga, tak nak baca, so I just pull him 1 or 2 pages, okay, let go, let him play. Then when it's time for him to be ready, he will come back and sit down. When he is ready, probably masa itu dia nursery or K1, he will start serious reading with the brothers. Kalau tidak, I just let them go, give him 1 or 2 on my lap, I read to him 1, 2 lines, okay, you can go play. So I'm very happy to kacau all the sisters and brothers. But the brothers and sisters are very happy to know that, oh, he's just young, so they think that, oh, never mind, your brother is still young, he's not ready yet. So when we give him that, we give the other siblings that kind of mentality, they understand why their brother is like that, they are not jealous, right? He said, kenapa dia boleh main, kita tak boleh main, all the stuff. They have that kind. So I think when you have smaller children, that is good. You can read to your child and the rest of them can listen, which is good. It's easy for you to teach them. Alhamdulillah, senang sekali.
Sebab saya dah cuba yang terbaik. Macam sebelum tidur, saya cuba bacakan buku-buku cerita. Lepas tu, apa yang saya boleh bacakan dalam Indonesia, saya cuba bacakan juga. Tetapi sebab kami di rumah tidak menggunakan bahasa Inggeris selalu, kata orang tengah terbalik. Jadi dia punya Inggeris tu yang bagi saya terlalu susah lah untuk dia catch up di sekolah. Jadi
Okay.
apa yang boleh?
Yeah, we have several people who wants to answer the question, but I also don't want to create a dialogue. Yeah, sebentar ya. Yeah, so we take that point. We'll answer the questions as we go along. Madam Shabnam has something to add.
I wanted to respond question number 4.
Question number 4 first. Okay.
Yeah. Question number 4 is very challenging in the modern this time for all of us. Children are growing in the technological age. Question number 5.
Question number 5.
Sorry.
It's all right. The social media.
It's social media, yeah. We cannot avoid it. If the whole world is in their hand, in the handphone, the whole world is there. How much can we control? How much can we control and how can we guide it? So, one thing I want to mention here is that I'm also one of you, so we should inculcate values in them. From very childhood, we should teach them what is good and what is not good. At the same time, we have to be the example to the children that we are doing and we are not doing. What are we doing? We are not doing. How are we spending them? How are we using the technology? If we, as a parent, as a father and mother, we are always on the Facebook, always Twittering, and what are we teaching to the children? So we have to set example and have to keep an eye as a mother, as a father, have to keep what are they doing, and that discipline is important, and how much time they can spend for Facebook, computer, online, There should be a time fixed for the children. There should be a disciplined life, and value. On the top of that, you should have value that this is not good. Yeah, you can do that, but you will be the sufferer. It is your life. If you are not a good person, nobody will like you, nobody will respect you. So set the value, example to the children, practice the disciplined life, and inculcate values in the children. I think that is the only weapon we have in our hands. And keep vigilating and talk to the children, I think. Talking to the children is very important,
Thank you very much, Dr. Chapman. I just want to share with you what has been written. There's some questions here. We'll ask one more question. We take note that the sister's question has not been fully answered. I think some of the speakers here wants to... Yeah, we can take it offline as well. We can actually approach you later after this and then try and deal with some of the issues. Yeah? Go on.
Yeah, sorry, my name is Madam Sarina. I'm primary 1 teacher for tuition. Maybe this is an extended PPC. I advise the same to answer the English language because they're not proficient in it. For the PPC on Thursday, I advise the parents who don't speak English at home, if they have a storybook that the kid likes, even though you get bored listening to it already again and again, but use that book as just read it again and again every day. Because if the kid cannot spell, cannot read it, when they see the word again and again, like the sight words, even though they don't know how to read it, when they see the word again coming from your English worksheets, they can read it because they have seen the word take. Even though, like you said, T-A-K-E, right? If you speak in Malay, it's a take instead of a take. Because it's a silent E, and there's a E, because of the N, you don't read it, so the A becomes a take sound. So, if you have the book, a storybook that they like, just read it again and again. So when they see the spelling and they find that, every time I say that mistake. So when one day, instead of you reading to them, suruh anak itu baca balik pada kamu lah. Jadi bila, that's one way, it's a simple way, and that you can try. I'm not sure whether that helps, but that's what I'm advising some of my people.
Thank you very much. Again, we can take that offline and describe the process. There's a message for Madam Zainab and Mr. Blaziz, and I want to read this because I thought this is very useful, primarily because of our role as parents. This is a note for Madam Zainab and Mr. Blaziz. Thank you for your input on how you inculcated reading culture among your children. I have decided henceforth, in the strongest of terms, that's my addition, to delegate the delightful task of bedtime storytelling to the spouse so that he may bond better with our son. Right? I thought that's useful. I thought fathers should also play a role. Usually the bedtime stories are told by mums. I think fathers too must take a role of telling bedtime stories. I used to just sit down with my daughter and I mix and mash stories. So she will get really confused, but then she understands the irony of it all. So I include Cinderella with Sleeping Beauty, and Sleeping Beauty becomes Cinderella, and then you just keep on. And I didn't even move with me. I just sort of sit down. Let's do bedtime stories. It's about that's Cinderella, no more Sleeping Beauty. And it's never mind. So you create the imagination, you create the interest, right? Because you sometimes sort of run out of books too, but you need to try and be as creative as possible. So fathers, please support your wives to try and do bedtime reading, and partly also because it's useful to bond with the child. And then, with a smiley face, she said, no, he's not allowed to veto my decision. All the best, fathers, right? To Madam Mariati, do you still keep your handmade books? Right? I'm inspired by your creativity. You may want to meet Madam Mariati after this and find out where the books are and whether she can help you to create this as part of your environment at home. One question which we have here is quite an interesting question, which actually has been answered, but I thought it's worth repeating it. How do you ensure that your kids choose the right books? I'm paraphrasing the question, because your kids may like some books, but you don't think those books are appropriate, may have not the right values in it, but they like those books. How do you ensure that? How do we direct them to pick those books? Madam Mariati mentioned earlier on, they should do a 2+2 affair. 2 books of your choice, 2 books of my choice. If you don't handle it well, they may just take the 4 books, but they don't read the other 2 books too. So how do you handle that? That's one question that we'll try and answer. How do you navigate and steer your kid? In as much as how do you navigate and steer your kid from just reading Twitters and Facebook into reading actual books, for example. Right? That's a process that we want to hear from you and learn from you too. Any other questions? Quite apart from those. Mr. Abdul Rahman Basro. You have a mic?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum. Sitting in the audience, I just realized that I hate the education system. Because it seems like we look upon reading as an academic thing. It limits our reading. So when we ask our children to read, we steer them to read to pass exams. Such that I feel that the problem has gone to like improving reading to improve our academic performance, which I think is against what the strategies there says. Reading culture program is actually inculcate a culture among our children such that they grow up lifelong to be readers. I give example, my children, they love reading so much that we have to hide their books during exam time because they will look for the storybooks. My wife hid them in the washing machine, so they couldn't find the storybooks. And I feel that actually we should start by getting them on reading first. As much as possible when primary school, right? Read them because later they will taper off. Just like us also. The old folks also the same thing, we taper off. So for example, my son who is now studying medicine, he's going to read all the medical books, right? And we say, alamak, we cannot just let him read medical books. So what we do is we try to buy him, it's not found in the library. Books, medical books, but for example like experiences, humorous books, etc. To make sure that he varies his reading rather than just on those which relate to his academic curriculum. So the thing is that I really appreciate how this form started out by the parents revealing the values that you get from reading. Become leaders, become innovators, become thinkers, and etc. And I think that is what we set out our children to do. That means read first. Let us create a conducive environment at home. Lead by example. It's fantastic. Those points are fantastic. And I hope, inshallah, if we do that, automatically I think our children will pick up, inshallah, will improve their English, improve their Malay, improve etc. But the things that have we created the conducive environment for them.
Thank you, Mr. Abdul Rahman. I'll pass over to... Is there any more questions first? That's quite a big question. I thought it's quite provocative. So let's take it on. Oh, one more, sorry.
Yeah, I think my children
You want
like
to introduce
reading.
yourself?
Okay, I'm Haryati. Yeah, I have children from P2 to secondary 4. I think they like reading because I've been creating the environment at home. And even though I agree that we are not getting them to read just for academic pursuit, but in reality that is what Singapore is. And I find that even though they like reading and they understand the materials that they are reading, but sometimes they are not able to answer things like comprehension well, or even when they write a piece of composition, sometimes their ideas are a bit far-fetched. So how would I be able to tackle that?
Thank you very much. Okay, let's pause and answer those questions. There are 3 questions fundamentally. One is the earlier question about whether, sort of selecting the books for the kids, whether that's the right thing to do, as opposed to just let them read freely. How do we ensure that when they actually read the stuff that we want them to read, primarily because there are real issues, concerns as well. But of course, Mr. Abdul Rahman Basran has actually made a very important point. We don't want our kids only to read for for exam, because after exam they don't read anymore, right?